it'll be the...
Europe's house is on fire, and its leaders are looking abroad for the water. From Paris to Berlin, from London to Rome, the streets are filled with fury. Protests, strikes, collapsing trust in government. And yet, even as their own nations boil over, Europe's top leaders, Macron, Meloni, Starmer, Merz, and Orban, gathered in Egypt's Sharm el-Sheikh, standing beside Donald Trump at the Gaza Peace Summit. Trump, the deal-maker, once dismissed by Brussels, has done what Europe couldn't: broker peace in Gaza. Now, surrounded by turmoil at home and paralysis abroad, Europe's leaders seem to want the Trump formula for themselves.
The guns have fallen silent, the hostages are free, and long-awaited peace reigns in the Middle East. President Donald Trump has made it happen. Now it's Europe's turn. President Trump's success proves that we must never give up on negotiations.
Hungary's Viktor Orban, long seen as the EU's internal dissident, is no longer an outlier. His words echo across the continent. Now, it's Europe's turn. For years, Orban stood alone in calling for peace talks with Moscow. Now, even Europe's establishment leaders, the same ones who shunned him, are speaking his language.
We hope the U.S. president brings to bear the same influence on Russia's government to end the war in Ukraine as he did on players in the Middle East to secure an end to fighting in Gaza.
That was Germany's Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, calling on Trump to use the same influence that ended the Gaza war to now end the one in Ukraine. The appeal came from the same European capitals that have spent years funding the war, and now face growing anger from citizens who want peace, not more promises.
There is only one country in the world and one leader that can stop the conflict in Gaza: the U.S. He decided to do it. It's very important, and it's a good step.
France's Emmanuel Macron, battling protests back home, echoed that sentiment in Sharm el-Sheikh, admitting the U.S. role was key. Italy's Giorgia Meloni called the Gaza ceasefire Trump's greatest diplomatic success, but warned that peace remains fragile. Europe's leaders were united in praise for Trump, even as they remain divided and weakened at home.
It's a great success of Donald Trump, his greatest diplomatic success, but it's a very long path. This is not a day that closes anything. It opens something.
From London, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer called it a historic day, crediting Trump for achieving what others couldn't, and even suggesting the UK could help monitor the ceasefire. For a Europe drowning in political crises, Trump's success in Gaza has become an unexpected lifeline and a reminder of what diplomacy used to look like.
Real credit to President Trump and the other leaders who got us to this place. But you're absolutely right. The challenge now is tomorrow, an implementation. And therefore, yes, today is historic, but what happens tomorrow really matters. So the question today has already moved to, how do we implement? How do we make sure this moves forward? And it's really important that we keep that focus. We mustn't have any missteps now.
And as Europe stood beside Trump in Egypt, Moscow looked on with contempt. At the United Nations, Russia's permanent representative, Vassily Nebenzia, mocked the European political class as dwarfs, a generation of leaders unfit for the times. His words struck deep, because they echoed what many in Europe already fear, that the continent once led by statesmen is now led by followers.
Look at the state of European politics today. They are miserable, simply miserable. Where are the giants of politics like Churchill or de Gaulle? They don't exist anymore. These are all dwarfs. They stupidly refuse to engage with Russia, and still look across the ocean waiting for orders.
Europe today finds itself trapped between the wars it cannot end and the protests it cannot control. Its leaders, once symbols of power, now travel to summits seeking validation. And in Sharm, el-Sheikh, as they stood beside Donald Trump, that image spoke louder than their words. A continent in turmoil, a leadership in decline, and a new center of power rising across the Atlantic.